Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. Today we are talking about Family Tree Maker. We're going to talk specifically about syncing your tree with your online tree, your desktop tree with your online tree. But I do want to spend a few minutes here at the beginning just talking about why you would want to do that, like what the benefit is of that, and then maybe some of the benefits or features of Family Tree Maker for those of you who only have an online tree and maybe didn't know about the software or aren't aware of what the software can do in conjunction with your online tree. So we'll spend a few minutes here at the beginning talking about that, then we'll talk specifically about how to sync your tree towards the middle of our presentation today, and then at the very end I'll just give you a few tips and tricks for how I sync my tree and what I found works best to make sure that everything goes smoothly. So let's dive in. Let's talk first about why you would want your family tree on your computer when it's already on the web. So those of you who are not quite as technologically savvy, one of the things that you may not realize is that when you only have your tree online, you can of course only access it when you are connected to the internet. If you have your tree on your computer, then you can access it whether you are connected to the internet or not. So that's one reason. Another reason is just that having your family tree in multiple places is smart practice. I have my tree on my desktop, I have my tree online, and then I also once a month make a backup of my tree that I store in the cloud and also to a hard drive, a separate hard drive, just in case anything happens. We talked about accessing your tree even when you are not online. And then one of the things that I've discovered that is one of the main reasons why I use Family Tree Maker is that computer software by its nature is just more robust than web-based programs. Web-based programs allow us to do kind of some of the minimal stuff, but software we can make a lot more robust because we're not dependent on varying internet protocols or speed of internet speeds or connections or any of that. All of that is just going to be connected to your computer. Now, let's talk about what Family Tree Maker can do for you. For those of you who are not yet using Family Tree Maker, there are a lot of reasons why you might want to switch or include this as part of your family history process. We do have Family Tree Maker programs available for both PC and Mac. So it is not dependent on one or the other of those operating systems. If you want to learn more about it or how you get it, you just go to familytreemaker.com. There is a full website there with information. They have their own learning center. They have a dedicated technical support. You can purchase the software. You can purchase a companion manual to go with that. If you're more of a tactile learner who needs a book and needs to turn pages, that's fine. You can access that as well. So that's familytreemaker.com is where you can go to get access to that. Now, here are some of the things that Family Tree Maker can do for you. First of all, it allows you to keep not just your family tree, but all of your documents and pictures on your computer. So right now, you attach documents and photos to your tree online at Ancestry.com. Anything you've uploaded, you always have access to. But any documents you've attached, you only have access to those as long as you have a current subscription on Ancestry.com. So if you want to be able to access those, even if for some reason you need to let your subscription lapse for a month or two, Family Tree Maker allows you to keep those on your computer and always have access to them. The other thing that you can do in Family Tree Maker that a lot of people don't know about is you can mark certain photos and documents private. So you can actually say, I only want to share these things online and some of these other things I want to keep private. There's a lot of reasons why people choose to do that. One thing you should know is that if any photo or document is attached to a living person, anything you've uploaded is attached to a living person, that is kept private automatically. But if you have other photos, things that are sensitive for whatever reason, or things that you feel a particular attachment with and aren't keen to share, or things that you've received from other people and promised them that you won't share those online, you can keep those private. Let me just show you really quickly how you do that. When I'm viewing anybody in my family tree, I can view their media. So here's my grandfather, and I've got a couple of census records that I've got attached to him. And then I have this photo. I can right-click on this and just mark private. That means now that this photo will not, when I sync my tree online, this particular photo will not be uploaded. It will be kept private only on my computer. So everything else about my grandfather, who is deceased, will be uploaded and connected to my tree online, but this photo will remain private. You can also do that here from the Media tab in Family Tree Maker. I can look at all of my photos here and just go through them and mark whichever one's private that I want to mark as such so that they don't upload. Just a handy little thing, and I know some people that's a significant issue. They want to be able to have their tree online, but they don't want to have all of the media online, and so you can do that. Another thing that Family Tree Maker can do for you is that it allows you to run various reports. So one of the things that we hear from people a lot that they want to be able to do with their online tree is to be able to manipulate or mine that data. And Family Tree Maker allows you to do that with really full, really robust controls. One of the first reports, or at least one of the most important reports to me, is what we call our data error report. It's so important to me, I actually did an entire presentation just on that one report. When we upload this video to YouTube, I will be sure to put a link in the comments so that if you have not yet seen that video, you can link directly to it. But that data error report allows me to do things like show me everyone in my tree where the mother was younger than 13 when her children were born. Sometimes I type a wrong date, or I have inherited information from other people who worked on parts of my family tree and I haven't verified it yet. And so it allows me to just do a check and return a list or a report that I can either print or just view on my screen of people who have problems. You know, show me a list of people where the husband and wife have the same surname. I do have some people in my tree who have the same surname, but on purpose. A woman married a man with the same name as her maiden name, but sometimes that's because I've made a mistake in data entry. So just lots of different kinds of ways we can run that data error report to check for obvious errors. The other kind of report that we can run is a complete index. So you can actually run a list of everybody in your tree, or everybody of a specific surname, or all women who are married to men with a specific surname, or any possible type of report that you want to run. There are custom reports that you can do, and you can run those in an index form or a list form. This one we get asked about a lot, and I actually have done a separate presentation about this as well that I will link to, but I can run a report in Family Tree Maker about anybody who is connected to a specific place. So for example, I was in Boston just this last week, and I wanted to know anybody in my tree who had ever lived in Boston. So born, married, died, had a census taken there, paid taxes, had land, any fact in my tree that was associated with Boston and that area. And so I was able to run a place usage report to pull the names, a list, again, of names of people who are connected to that location. You can also run a media usage report. So for example, one of the things that we see happen a lot, and I probably should add this to my list of presentations that need to be done, but rather than uploading one photo and attaching it to multiple people, sometimes people don't understand how that process works, and so they end up uploading the same photo over and over and over and over again. Unfortunately, what that does is it creates way more data than we need, both on our servers and on your computer. You can upload a photo and attach it to multiple people. So you only have a single instance of the photo, for example, if it's a family portrait, and then you can attach it to all 9 or 12 or 15 people in that photo. This media usage report allows you to see that a little more clearly, that you have either multiple photos, or if you have a single photo, if you have a photo that's only attached to one person, but you know you need to attach it to more people. We also have a source usage report. So for those of you who are really good at documenting your sources, and I hope all of us are getting in that practice, you can see, how many people are attached to this 1860 census in Cincinnati. You can see it's an interesting report for me because oftentimes what happens is I'll have worked on various branches of my family tree over time, and I'll discover that totally disconnected branches. So, for example, someone on my mother's side of the family and someone on my father's side of the family were enumerated in a census in the exact same location. In the same year, and it starts to create stories in my mind of did they know each other, did they attend church together, did they work together, did they socialize together? Just an opportunity to learn more about the family story. And then this report, and this is a fun one for those of you who have not yet gotten in the habit of documenting your sources, or for those of you who didn't do it at first and have now picked up the habit of documenting your information. You can run a report of all undocumented facts in your family tree. So if you have stray branches out there in your tree that you've never documented, that you just copied from someone else's tree and never got around to verifying, or that you inherited from someone else when you took on the family history, you can run a report about those so that you know where to focus, where to spend your time either documenting or pruning. In some cases, I had to just do that recently, pruning your family tree. Okay, a couple more things that Family Tree Maker can do for you, and then we'll talk in the last half here about syncing. You can also create and print charts. Now, you can do this with your online tree. If you just click that little publish button there on Ancestry.com, you can create charts, and then you can either print them out yourself or have us print them out for you for a fee. But you can also do this within Family Tree Maker. And again, the charts within Family Tree Maker are a little bit more robust. You have a little bit more control over them. So you can do the standard pedigree chart, or what we usually think of as a family tree in various configurations. You can do descendant charts, so that you start with an ancestor and print a list of all of their children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. You can do relationship charts. So I actually have done this as a gift. I have a girlfriend who, she and I had been friends for years, and I always wondered, her maiden name was a name that's in my family tree, and we finally got around to having a conversation about it, and she hooked me up with her mother who had done some family history, and come to find out that she and I are fifth cousins. And so for her birthday one year, I printed up this really nice relationship chart, printed it on some cardstock and framed it, and she, at least last time I checked, had that hanging in her office as just a reminder. And I think I added some words, something about friends at first but family forever, to the chart, just to make it a little bit more personal. So lots of different things you can do there with charts in Family Tree Maker as well. And then somebody has asked, actually several people have asked about this recently on our Facebook page, you can also create and print task lists. So if you can add a task to anybody in Family Tree Maker. So I could come here and on my grandfather, and I could say, well, I need to research a specific thing, and I can add a task for him, and then I can take these task lists here. Here's some of them that I've created. Here's one: I need to find the marriage for this woman in this location, and I can create those tasks and then print that out, or just have it to refer to. One of the challenges of family history is sometimes keeping focus, and task lists for some of us is a way to do that. So let's talk about just some tips for better syncing. I'll explain to you how to sync so that if you're brand new to this, you can, and then share some of those tips. The first thing you need to know is that if you have not ever synced your family tree, if you have your tree just in Family Tree Maker, or if you have your tree just on Ancestry.com, or maybe, and I know some of you fall into this category, you have a tree in both places and you've been manually updating it. If you don't feel confident enough about your technical abilities, your technological abilities, don't be afraid to call us. Give Member Services a call. The phone number is 1-800-ANCESTRY. They're open 7 days a week. And just have them walk you through it that first time, just to make sure that you get it set up correctly, that it all works the way it's supposed to work. I would just encourage you to do that. As you go forward syncing, so once you get through that first time, let me just come over here to my Family Tree Maker. This sync icon is going to be up here in the top right-hand corner of your Family Tree Maker program. So here is my sync. I can see, because I have these two little arrows, one going one way, one going the other, that I have made changes since I synced last. That's how I know I need to sync. I can do that now, or I have some options here, and we'll talk about those in just a minute, or I can go directly to my online tree. You can also learn a little bit more about it. I would strongly encourage just making sure you educate yourself about exactly what's happening. You don't have to know how it works or all the details of it, but it helps sometimes to just have a basic understanding of what's going on. Now, one of the things that I would strongly recommend, this comes to the tips here, is to pay attention to your sync options. Now, the default on all of these trees, when you first do it, is to automatically sync. What that means is that every time you open Family Tree Maker, every time you close Family Tree Maker, or every time you click the Sync Now button, it's going to attempt to sync. Now, that is great if you are always, always, always connected to the internet. If you're not connected to the internet, you're going to get some kind of an error message or warning that you're not connected, and so that the sync can't complete. If you have a weak internet connection when any of those three things occurs, you could run into some problems with the sync not completing accurately, or some issues with the dropped connection with your internet. So one of the things that I have chosen to do, and you figure out what works best for you, is that I have selected to manually sync, which means my tree doesn't sync unless I tell it to. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One is because my Family Tree Maker program is on a laptop, and that laptop moves around. And sometimes it moves around in my house, and it's not close to my wireless internet router, and so I have a weak signal, and that could cause some problems. Sometimes it's because I'm in a hotel or in a library or somewhere where I haven't connected to the internet, and I don't want to deal with those error messages. Sometimes it's, sometimes I'm just fine, like I'm connected to the internet and whatever, but I don't want to have to wait for it to sync when I open up Family Tree Maker. I just want to get right to work. So for my purposes, I have chosen to manually sync my Family Tree Maker. That's something that you have to decide. If you're on a desktop computer and you are directly plugged into your to your internet router, and there's no lag ever in your internet connection, then maybe an automatic sync is best for you. But for me, in my circumstances, I choose to manually sync. Now, the other things here, and I have both of these checked. One is to show the change log before finalizing that sync. I want to know what the program thinks has been changed, just as a gut check, just to verify. It'll tell me you've changed 7 people, you've deleted 3, and you've added citations to 24. And then if I want to look at more details, I can do that before the sync actually completes. It also will tell me, because I do most of my work in Family Tree Maker and then sync those changes up to Ancestry.com. If I make any changes in the Ancestry.com, it will also sync those back down into my Family Tree Maker program at the same time. But if I haven't made any changes in my online tree, this sync log should reflect that. And if it doesn't, I know there might be a problem, or maybe somebody changed something without my knowledge. Not that that happens, but I just want to know. I want to know what those changes are. If you have a shared tree online, meaning you've given other people access to add or change, and those are 2 of the access levels, to add or change information on your online family tree, having that change log available before you sync allows you to know exactly what changes have been made, so that you can decide if you need to go make some other changes or something before it replicates that information. That's the first thing, is that change log. So make sure you've checked that and get familiar with it. Take a look at it the next time your sync runs. Okay. The next thing is the little checkbox to download citation media. What that means is, if I have this checked, every document that I've attached, so for example, if I found a 1930 census and I attached that to my grandfather and his parents, it will download a copy of that 1930 census image for them, not just the source citation. So you make sure that you have you're not just downloading the citations, but you're downloading the actual media if you want that, if your computer is big enough to handle that, if you've got enough space and memory. Now, one of the things you need to know is that if you have this checked to download citation media, the very first time that you do a sync, so if you've got your tree online and you've just bought Family Tree Maker and you're going to set it up here, okay, or if you're doing it the other way, either way, if the very first time you run that sync, it's going to take a while. Okay, if you have lots of documents and lots of images and lots of records that you've attached as you've been doing your research. So be prepared for that. I would recommend that you set your computer, if it's not normally, as close as possible to your wireless router or plug directly into it, especially that first time, because you don't want any interruption in that network connection while it's doing that sync. Sometimes that causes some hiccups and some problems if that internet connection gets interrupted. So that first sync, just know that it could take a while. Just to give you kind of an idea, I have about 57 or 58,000 people in my family tree, and the very first time I synced, I think it took almost 2 hours by the time it synced the whole tree and then made sure that all the media was uploaded and connected. Then after that, it should not take nearly that long. So one of the things that I do is I will, if I've spent a lot of time adding information, I'll just run a sync. And sometimes I'll do it in the middle of a 3 or 4 hour session of doing genealogy research. And it rarely takes more than 3 or 4 minutes. And that's on my internet connection at home, which is a wireless connection running on a cable modem. So once I've done the first sync, successive syncs, which I usually do for every 2 to 3 hours of work or time spent doing research, never take more than 3 or 4 minutes. If your sync is taking longer than that, that's a signal that you might have a problem. Either a problem with your internet connection, maybe a problem with your firewall on your computer, maybe a problem with your actual computer settings themselves. Any one of those things can cause some problems. So let me just show you, if you run across problems, there are some excellent step-by-step with screenshot helps available to you. If you just click here, let me make this screen a little bit bigger. If you just click here on Get Help, it's the top right-hand corner of your Ancestry.com page, anywhere on Ancestry, click on Get Help. And then in this box right here, just type Tree Sync, all one word, Tree Sync, and click Search Help, and you will see a list of articles that will walk you through things like Family Tree Maker Sync Most Common Questions. We get a lot of the same questions over and over. That article can help you understand how it works. Any questions you have about syncing PCs versus Mac, there are options for that. How to use the sync, if there is information here that I've shared today that you're still not sure about, go check out this article and it will walk you through some of these things step by step. There's also some troubleshooting things, like if you have to unlink and relink your tree, how do you do that? If you have to, if you've run into a problem, how do you fix that problem? And you'll see here we have screenshots and very detailed step-by-step instructions about how to solve some of those problems, whether you're on a PC or a Mac. Hopefully that helps. It helps you understand a little bit how to access some of the help resources. There are sometimes issues, and like I said, some of the major reasons that people have problems with TreeSync are firewall, computer settings, or an interruption in their internet. Now, one of the things that I have discovered is that on occasion, even though I know I've got a great internet connection, even though I've run through all of the troubleshooting steps to make sure everything's set up correctly, I'll still have a problem syncing. So what I would just recommend in that case, and sometimes you'll get like a little triangle over here with an exclamation point, like a yield sign with a warning, I'll just close my Family Tree Maker. And again, make sure that you've got your setting to manual, or it will try to sync again, right? Because every time you close or open Family Tree Maker if it's automatic, it will try to sync. So make sure your sync options are set to manual, and then just close Family Tree Maker and reopen it and try that sync again. Okay, and I have never had a problem but what that has solved it, as long as my internet connection has been solid and I don't have Family Tree Maker excluded from my firewall settings. So hopefully that has helped some of you both with understanding why you might want to have your tree online versus and on your desktop software as well. Hopefully, if you have not yet purchased Family Tree Maker or haven't yet taken the step to sync your trees, you feel a little bit more confident about that. And for those of you who haven't and may have had a few challenges, hopefully some of these tips will give you the opportunity and the ability to move forward with being able to use your Family Tree Maker software to its full potential. As I mentioned earlier, I will, once we upload this video to YouTube, I will make sure I put links to both of the previous Family Tree Maker presentations in the comments directly on this video so that you can access those for more information about Family Tree Maker. If you have other Family Tree Maker topics you'd like to see discussed in more detail, please email me at ask@ancestry.com and I'll see what I can do about getting those presentations put together and put on the calendar for April or May or sometime during the summer. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.